Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and this video will be a tier list for 10.1 PvP for 3v3 and Soul Shuffle. I will be combining all those two together, although I will probably favor more the Soul Shuffle side because again, most people are playing Soul Shuffle, but I do keep 3v3 in mind. I will for sure make a 2v2 and an RBG video as well in the future, but it will not be a prediction, it will be more about the state of the game. My prediction will be based around the current buff and nerfs on the latest patch note, which I think is the final patch note. I will also be counting the tier sets and how they will impact in PvP. So again, don't be surprised that the first week of PvP will not be the full meta because nobody will have the 4 set, or at least chances are nobody will have that. So we do need to account on like a 2, 3, 4 week spaces where you do get that tier set. Normally you should be able to get your tier set like 6 weeks from now. So again, you have to be lucky with the vault if you want to have like the tier set right away, which is a bad thing. But anyways, so that was the intro. I will try to keep it short and concise, but you already know me. I try to always give some insight to my decisions on which class I put on which tier. So we're going to talk about DK first. So Frost DK. Frost DK got pretty, like it got hit on the actual 4 set. I think the 4 set from season 1 was miles better. Season 2 feels like a PvE set, and it is even nerfed in PvP, so it will break CC, it will not freeze at all too, so it really is bad. And you don't have versatility, or at least it's very low. I think that the bonuses are also not very good for Frost, so it feels like everything is against you. So the crit change, the CC change also is pretty big. Asphyxiate being a 3-second instead of a 5-second stun is actually very big. The damage will be lower for sure because again the crit changes, and they can like buff obliterate like by their own, which is a good thing. But again, I don't think Frost DK should be shoehorned into that nerf because other classes have more crit and more damage and such. So I think because of that, I'm going to be very conservative. Also, I'm going to say you see my screen, you have Spell Warden now being redesigned, so you can use AMS on your allies. The duration is shortened by 50%, but you also have a 10-second CD less on that ability. But you can also AMS your allies, so pretty much you can AMS your healer, so they don't get CC'd and they do not get interrupted by ranged DPS, like a caster DPS, for example, which is pretty big if you ask me. Or if you're playing with a Warlock or with a Shadow Priest and you put AMS on them, they will not be stopped. So there is something you can do with Frost DK, but again, Unholy DK also has that. You also have like 20% physical damage reduction on Death Strike with your PvP talent. I think all those two things are very good and very situation, by the way. But I don't know if it's enough. I don't think like defensive prowess is the only problem Frost DK has. I think having Pillar of Frost being so predictable and so stoppable as well is making it very hard to actually like see it in any kind of way except in a one-shot comp with a Devastation Evoker, for example. So I'm going to put it in C tier. I'm very sorry, Frost DK. I do love Frost DK in general, although this iteration of this spec is not very much cool. I prefer the previous iterations, which were pre-Walls Drainer, pretty much like Mist of Pandaria and such, were pretty good. But right now, Frost DK is a bit boring, at least from my understanding and from what I tried to play in Shadowlands and in Dragonflight. So Unholy DK, I think Unholy DK are better if you are going to see the tier set, which is quite nice. They do more damage on their Death Coil. They also buff Death Coil as well and grants the stacks, and whenever the stacks are consumed, it will grant 1% mastery for each stack. Again, pretty easy to activate. You get 20%, and Army of the Dead grants 20 stacks. So pretty much if you're putting in Abomination, you will get 20 stacks of Master of Death, and then you put your Dark Transformation and you directly have 20% 20% mastery, and also you will gain 10% mastery every time you get a sudden doom consumed. So it's actually very good. He will do a lot of damage, I think. Still nerfed in PvP, but I think this is a worthy tier set to go for. So and all the great things about like unholy DK, you also get buffs, although very small, but still buffs. And you also have like, again, defensive prowess, but also, which is a cool PvP talent, reanimation. I think it can see play. That really depends how it will work in arenas. But if it's really how it is, like 20% damage, shadow damage, it's going to be quite nice. So we'll have to see if it's going to see play or not. I do think so, at least in RPGs. I don't know if it's an arena a possibility for them to see play with that PvP talent. For me, it's going to be a B tier spec right now. Very conservative. I would want to put it in A tier, but it depends on the meta. And for me, what I see is they're going to be pretty good to average. So B tier is good, a bit average, but good. A tier is meta. S tier means that it is a god tier spec. And like Havoc Demon Hunter right now, they are pretty hit on the crit change for the big abilities like Death Sweep and the Hunt and such. They do not get a compensation on those abilities as well, so it's going to be pretty harsh for them. They do also get hit by the CC change. They do get a hit on multiple things from previous patches, and it did not really revert them. So it will really depend on the meta, if it's a caster heavy meta or a physical one. I'm going to put it in B tier. Very conservatively, again, I think it's going to be a good spec. I don't think it's going to be very meta. You will see some Demon Hunter, but I don't think it will be like the Demon Hunters that you saw at the beginning of the season, where you had like literally the same amount of players like Retribution, Paladin at the end of season 1. So having Demon Hunter B tier, hopefully I'm right. If I'm not right, then it might be A tier. I don't think it's lower than that though. It is probably better than Holy DK because it has multiple comps and it is a bit more safer with the amount of CC, the amount of defensives, and the amount of mobility to actually like seize the fire from the enemy team. Balance Druid, I tested it on the PTR. I think it's a good spec, especially on the multiple changes on the PvP talents and the multiple changes on the talent trees and the spec trees. I think it is now a better spec than in the beginning of season 1. In my opinion, Cyclone is now the best CC that you can actually do and provide for your team, because it is not changed. The CC duration is not changed on Cyclone, which is a great thing for them at least. It will be still a spec that is going to be set up based, but there is a way where you can play a rotting spec, although Starfall is doing some peanuts damage on PTR, so I hope it is different in arenas, for example, or in RPGs. I think in RPGs you will still have play like for sure, but in 3v3 I think it will be a 8-tier spec. It has good comps, it has good setup. I think it will be a setup meta where you will be able to CC the enemy team and go for kills. Although the CC changes are there, I think CC will be even more important because of the damage changes, and you will have to need it to win with the smallest advantages possible. I think Balance Druid can be very good with a root beam, for example. There is a lot of healers that can counter it, but there are ways for you to actually play around it. So for me, Balance Druid is going to be 8, yeah. Feral Druid, I think it's also going to be an 8-tier spec. I think the changes to Feral Druid, at least on the Berserk front and the Spenders and the Builders, I think it is going to be a very fun class to play and very fun spec to play. I made a video about it, so if you want to check that out. I think Convoke will be seeing a lot of play in 2s. I think in 3s is going to be very impractical, but I think there is a way where you can do that with a lot of coordination. It's a 1-minute CD if you're really talented for it, so there is a way for you to make it work. I think the conventional spec tree will be probably the best one for trees. So without Convoke, pretty much a Shamans and go for like AoE bleeds or just single target if you're playing like a single target comp. It's very versatile, lot of comms. I think it's going to be strong but not OP. I think it's going to be punishable but not squishy if you know how to play with them, if you know how to kite, if you know how to dodge specific amount of damage, because you use your mobility to get out of harm's way. I think Feral Druid is going to be pretty fantastic. But again, a high skill cap class, and some people will feel it like it's a D tier spec, and some people will make them feel like S tier spec. So I think A tier will be probably the right way to classify it. Restoration Druid, I think in trees, at least in social, I think it will be unchanged. I think it's still going to be a B tier spec, so it means that it is a good spec to play on. But I think in twos it will be pretty good. I already made a video about it, stating that for me it is probably going to be one of the kings of 2v2. Because they will have a lot of stupid damage that they can actually provide for the team if you can play aggressive. But in trees there is no way you can play aggressive. It's also very hard to do a cyclone, especially since you can actually be punished for it, and you do not want to be punished on it because it is a nature spell. And if you are actually like hurt and you have the problems of actually surviving the damage, well, it's going to be a quick one. So I think Resto Druid is going to be the way to go if you want to play a spec that is going to get buffed like in the future. Also, forset on both, like the 3 specs of Druids are going to be quite insane. Resto Druid is actually very good because you're going to add more healing. Pearl Druid is going to add more agility, which is in turn just going to add more damage overall and is easily procced and it will always be up. And Balance Druid is going to have some great damage from their forset, so they all benefit from the forset. Well, for example, Frost Decay, it's going to be abysmal. Devastation Evoker, so they made a lot of changes on the PTR and also on the patch notes. I still think the problem with Devastation is still there, so it is still a one-shot spec, and it is actually a one-trick in that, in the sense that there is no real way to play around it. There is no build that you can play to just do pure consistent damage with a bit of burst. Right now it is just burst, or you're going to try to survive until your next burst. And I don't think that playstyle is going to cut it in arenas right now, because I do feel like there is a switch. Again, I can be wrong, but I do feel like the games are going to be slower. Although CC change will probably prevent that a bit, it's still going to be slower because the crits are a bit more manageable. I think like classes get a bit more tools as well. Like for example, DKs, they get defensives. So if everyone got defensives to a certain extent, it will just make the game a lot easier to proceed and to survive and to win, right? So Devastation Evoker is going to be still C tier in my opinion. It might be different with going into live, but I do not see them as threatening as right now, because the crit changes. And yes, there are cute changes, right? Disintegrate in PvP gives you obsidian shards, and it will deal 12% of the damage done as volcanic damage. It's a dot. It's a very small dot as well. It's not going to really do insane damage. And the same for here, like 8% more damage. And to become supercharged, dealing 200% more damage for 5 seconds. Which is, again, 200% of 12%. So it's not going to be insane. But we'll have to see. If it's 200% of the damage done, then okay, then we have a problem. But if it's 200% of those 12%, it is going to be pretty underwhelming, I think, in arenas, in RPGs as well. I think in PvE it might be good, but that's the whole problem with like PvE tier sets in PvP. They just need different things. So let's talk about Preservation Evoker. I think Preservation Evoker is going to be pretty good, pretty good. I'm going to put it in S tier, especially since they did a lot of changes, and I mean, this is quite strong. So getting Essence Burst immediately, another 3 seconds later. Dream Breath healing is also increased by 15%. Spirit Bloom, 40% of healing done over 8 seconds. It's going to be quite nice, although it's again nerfed in PvP, but it's still going to be something you're going to go for. I think versatility wise, you're not very good on those current tier sets, but I think it is going to be worth to go for the tier set. Also, they keep on getting buffs on the PTR for some reason. It is not going to be dramatic. That's what I'm going to say. It is not going to be very dramatic, and it is not going to get nerfed anytime soon. It is going to. They really want the Evoker classes, that specs, to actually be performing. I think the Devastation is just a huge failure, at least on the design point. It can be fun to one shot. Again, I told that many times, even in my class speaking guide. One shots can be fun, but it is not balanced, and it is doomed from the beginning to actually get nerfs and to be lost into darkness, right? BM Hunter, so kind of predicted that BM Hunter is going to get nerfed, but it is actually not nerfed, and that's actually very surprising, because I do feel like they actually deserve a nerf. The Forset is actually a very big nerf though. I think Season 1 Forset is huge compared to right now. You just get kill command 15% damage increase. Cobra shot is really a non-factor, and also kill command reduces the cooldown of bestial wrath by 1 second. Yes, sometimes you do cobra shot, but mostly kill command. It is not going to be substantial, so that's a actually big nerf on the regen on barb shot and kill commands. The Foresight is weak. Sack is now on the class tree, so it's going to be an extra PvP talent to spend. Although the PvP talents are not going to be insane either. They do get hit on the CC change. Intimidation is going to be a 3-second stun instead of a 5-second stun. Freezing Trap is only a 6-second duration, so they do get hit on the CC front and also on the crit front. So for me, it's going to be a A-tier spec. It's still going to be meta, still going to see play. I think it's going to be still one of those classes that you're going to play and do huge damage, like overall, by just running and hitting. Again, I'm not a hater. I do play BM Hunter as well. I do play Hunter in general as well, and I just want them to rework the spec tree so you can actually nerf BM Hunter and have an option to switch builds. Right now, if you nerf BM Hunter, they do have nothing on their spec tree. There's no way to actually switch focuses on a different aspect of BM Hunter, because there is only one aspect of BM Hunter. So for me, A tier right now, and hopefully they do get a rework sometime soon. Survivor Hunter. Survivor Hunter gets a cool Forset, which is Wildfire Bomb, doing more damage and increasing the damage of kill command, and also kill command increasing the damage for your Wildfire Bomb. Nerfed in PvP. Here it's 75%, but I'm pretty sure it's now 40%, and I think it's 20% in PvP. It's going to be a different style. It will be more around Wildfire Bombs and try to do as much damage as possible. It's not always going to be very practical, let's be honest, but if there is a way for you to actually be performing, I think it's this patch. I think in 10.1 the Roar Sacrifice to actually be on the class tree is actually huge for Survival Hunter, because they do need a lot of PvP talents, and they do not have a lot of choices to actually use more PvP talents, right? You only have 3, you have a lot of choices, and Sack being on the class tree gives you more choices to use, so it's actually very good. So I think I'm going to put it in B tier conservatively, because again, trees is not really the best bracket for survival in general. Also solo queue as well. You can make it feel S tier, let's be honest. You can really be slippery, do a lot of damage. You have a counter versus poisons and such, and bleeds, so you have ways to slip wins, but I don't know if it's going to be meta though. I think BM Hunter is just better in general. And then you have MM Hunter. If you were thinking about MM Hunter, you do get a great thing, which is Arcane Shot, deals 10% more damage and have 8% chance to grant you Death Blow, which is the kill shot done on any target. So if you get a Death Blow effect, it means that you can use your kill shot on the target above the threshold, so you can basically do a kill shot and then another kill shot because they went below the threshold. So it does a lot of damage. Also increased damage on kill shot, again very much liked, and reduces the cooldown of aim shot and rapid fire by 1.5 seconds, again making you a killing machine. And I think it is going to be a very good spec. I think it's going to be A tier if not S tier. They do get a better tier set. They do get better in general because they did not really get a huge nerf, except the crit change, of course. That is quite like hard, but you can also do a lot of damage without critting. I really think Hunter is in a right spot. Arcane Mage, I really don't know if it's going to be any good. They do get nerfs pretty hard on the CC, pretty hard on the crits. They're still one school. They have an interesting force set, although I don't really think it's that good. Let's be honest. The mana spent, alright, I guess. During Arcane Surge, your spell damage is increased by 1%. And stacking up 25 times. I don't know, man. And also it is nerfed in PvP, so I think it's going to be B tier. It's still good. I think you can still do well with Arcane Mage, but I think Fire Mage and Frost Mage has overtaken you guys pretty hard. I think Frost Mage is probably the best one. Flurry and Iceland doing more damage, like 20%, and also causing an explosion on impact. Very cool. And also casting Ice on a frozen target, it has chances to get Brain Freeze, so you can keep on doing damage, like rolling at least. And I think overall it's going to be a great spec. I think it's going to be pretty A tier, so I'm going to put A tier. I think it's pretty deserved. I think ahead of Boomy. They have ways to have like great comps and making you suffer for it. I mean, Warlock, Mage Warlock, Mage Lock is going to be quite insane, and especially this season. And RMP is still going to live, although I think Fire Mage will be the RMP contender this patch. We will have to see. I think the damage is quite high. The CC is okay since it got nerfed, but still good. And you have ways to kite if you're known to Mage. Of course, if you're new to Mage, you're going to probably get punished, but that is like every single class the same problem, right? Fire Mage is actually a spec that is quite good on the surface, but I do not know if it's enough for them to be insane. I do like the force set. Like we have Phoenix Flames applies Showering Embers to all enemies it damages, and it increases 5% of damage. It is nerfed in PvP, it's going to be 2.5 if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, please do tell me in the comments. When your direct damage spells hits an enemy affected by Showering Embers 20 times, which is pretty fast, you do get your next 2 Phoenix Flames by 200% more damage, and it will also refund a charge on use. So pretty much you can do 6 combust goes and it will do some great amount of damage. 200% is nothing to scoff at. It's easily applicable, easy usable. I do want to put it in A tier. I think it's going to be the first season for Dragonflight to see Fire Mage reliably being A tier. I think it's going to be strong, it is going to be counterable, you're going to be squishy, but in trees you can kinda play around your weaknesses with a rogue. And in Socialful, I think the main issue for Socialful is Fire Mages are going to be still squishy. And I don't know if it's going to be A tier in Socialful, but I do want to classify this tier list as a 3v3 and Socialful, and I think in 3v3 it does deserve A tier. Mistweaver gets some pretty nice things, man. I think in general the force set is going to be better than the force set of like season 1. And drinking a tea, which is pretty much all the time, or like gaining soulfang, again, renewing mist is also all the time. It increases the healing of your Vivify and renewing mist by 40%. Even a Mistweaver is going to love it, but I think a straight Mistweaver is going to be enjoying this. I mean, Vivify by 40% for 6 seconds, you're going to out heal everyone. And I think do not really get a lot of nerfs from the first look at Monk. I do feel like CC wise you do get like a bit destroyed, but you have some like great things. Fail Accord, again, Fail and Stomp cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds. That's quite nice. It snares, quite nice as well. In general, you also have then spheres, so you can also add more damage towards the enemy team. Again, from all sources, very strong, and also less damage to the monk. So you can put it on the rogue that is going to sit on you, and you're going to have a passive damage reduction, which is still something very nice. So I think my opinion will not change. It is going to be S tier. The Mistweaver one and also the Fistweaver one, I think it's going to be strong. I think ahead of preservation even, and that meta is not going to change. So except if you're playing versus like specific comps where Mistweavers are going to probably suffer. If you're going to Fistweave versus a melee that is going to be on your face, that's going to be very difficult. So I think all in all, S tier, still God tier, pretty deserved. Windwalker, I think they do get hit by crit change a lot. Also the CC change. I think in general it is going to be maybe better than in season 1. Not the beginning, because in the beginning you had really crazy one-shots, but right now it doesn't really happen though. And Rising Sun Kick that gets like buffed in PvP, buffs in PvE. Turbo Fist is now like super interesting in AoE cleaves, for example. Those Storm strikes, I don't know if it's going to see play, but it looks cool, at least in RPGs. So I don't know, man. And how is the 4 set? Rising Sun Kick deals 10% more damage. Goes Nova, increased damage as well with Shadow Flame damage, and also Fist of Fury deals increased damage to the primary target, and increases the Shadow Flame Nova damage you deal to all targets hit by 50%. Also a very strong 4 set. It will force you to play defensive as a team and probably respond to CDs very correctly. So for me, I'm going to put it in B tier right now. I do think they are very close to the A tier, but defensive wise, they're still made of paper. The same problem as the Unholy DK. So I don't know if in current meta you do want to be very, very weak at defensives. So for me, B tier deserved. Holy Paladin. So Holy Paladin, they got a few changes. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I do not really like the 4 sets. I think you're probably going to play the 2 set and that's it. Versatility wise, it is also very low, so it's not like you're gaining anything by going for the tier set outside of the tier bonuses. Lighthammer, you do not really take it. Holy Prism as well. I don't think you have the points to spend as a Holy Paladin, and I think it does deserve like a lower rating. I think Avenging Crusader to be able to stack it with Mastery and being able to heal with true Mastery is going to be very interesting, but it will not work versus all the classes. So for me, it's going to be B tier behind Resto Druid. Behind Resto Druid looks like a great place for Holy Paladin. Retribution Paladin. Now, they do get a 4 set change, where you do have more damage around Judgment and your Hammer of Wrath. And you also have another modifier here, so I thought they actually learned the lesson, but that's not the case. So for me, I'm going to put it still in S tier. They still have too many tools. They have still like damage to actually KO people. It's annoying to deal with. I do think they are like up for a nerf. They will probably see about the crit change and the CC changes if it's enough, but it is very annoying to deal with a Retribution Paladin, so S tier probably very deserved. Disc Priest. So Disc Priest is going to be an interesting pick. I think Disc Priest, they do get a lot of buff, also a lot of changes, and I will say that they kind of deserve the A tier. I think they are like below Preservation and Mistweaver, for example, but they're also ahead of different specs. So for me, A tier, perfect match for the Disc Priest, and I hope that the Holy Priest is going to be the same. Now I want to see the 4-set real quick. A beautiful 4-set, by the way. Could be a Paladin one, to be honest. 2-set Persia Wicked Shadow Word, damage increased by 25%, and also more healing on Radiance. And Atonement applied by Powered Radiance at lasts 3 seconds longer, so it's cool, I guess, for PvE. You also have a chance to cause your next Powered Radiance to be instant and cost 50% less mana, can accumulate 2 times. That's a problem with Current Society, where, at least with the game, where we're going to have some versatility issues compared to them. And this is also a PvP taunt, so I do not know if it's going to be enough for them to be justifiable to go for 2-set, or at least 4-set. And for the Holy Priest, you have Prayer of Mending. Again, cool. It's actually a cool spell, and they will have the modifier on it, so it will be very, very high, especially for Retribution Paladin. Shadow Priest increases the chances for Shadow Insight to trigger, and once it's triggered, you will do more damage on Devouring Blade because of your build. And Holy Priest, yeah, I already discussed. I think it's going to be quite nice. So Disc Priest, Holy Priest, I think Holy Priest will be B tier in between Resto Druid and Holy Paladin, and Shadow Priest will be still, I think, B tier because of the inconveniences of not casting, and that's going to be pretty big coming forward for Temple 1. Assassination Rogue. Now I have to think about the current meta if there is a grasp on it. I think they deserve the B tier at least, because it's still rogue. But I think if you're facing a Retribution Paladin, it is a direct D tier. They do get pretty hard, like hit up pretty hard on a few CCs, although not always used. So people do over exaggerate a bit too much with those nerfs. But I do think it's still a B tier spec, so I'm going to put it between Survivor Hunter and Windwalker. So Outlaw Rogue got a few changes here and down the PTR, so we have a lot of damage like all across the board by 5%. I don't know if it's enough, especially since the crit changes and you did build crit on Outlaw. You do get a few changes like combat stamina, getting more stamina. Again, that's like Shadowlands level, I think. Take Your Cut is now 12 seconds, and Turn the Tables is also 12 seconds. Overall, I still think Outlaw Rogue is probably very, very weak. So for me, it's going to be a C tier spec. They still have CC, but even that is nerfed. Crit changes are going to be really annoying for you guys, because you build crit. Like in season 1, you were all over crit. So I think it does remove your like capacities to actually carry games. And I'm actually looking forward to see a few buffs to Outlaw, or at least maybe a rework. Subtlety Rogue. We do get a few changes here and there, but damage wise, at least it is alright. You do lose a few things, man. I think they do deserve like maybe the B tier again, because it's still a Subtlety Rogue. If you're maining Subtlety Rogue, you're going to like step over people, like with your CC and your capacities to actually one-shot healers, for example. I think assassination is probably better than Subtlety. I think overall probably the weakest melee out of the B tier, and you should be very scared whenever you're facing one. There is not really a lot of light right now. Directly. Let's see. Can I do this? Can I do this? gonna change it. Never mind. Sun is gone, so it is what it is. Now, Elemental Shaman. I think Elemental Shaman, the change that they made to Lava Burst and how it procs with the PvP talents, because now you have an interesting PvP talent, which is called Volcanic Surge, doing more damage to Lava Burst as well, is going to be pretty good. It is going to offset 100% the crit changes, by the way. It will make you cast more spells though, so instants are going to be something of the past, especially if you're going for that spec. They do have a interesting 4 sets, at least 2 sets, but the main issue, oh, this is actually very nice. The main issue is Stormkeeper. Now you get like only 1 stack, not 2, and it's a 50-second duration, every 50 seconds, and I think it's even nerfed in PvP. I think it's even longer, so I don't know if it's going to be anything worth to actually go for. In general, the 4 set is going to be used in PvE, but not in PvP, so I do think it's going to be an A tier spec. I do want to put it in S tier, but I think the current meta is going to favor instant casts, especially with the CC changes. But since you can have precog on your embellishment, you can pretty much have a great space of PvP talents to use to actually like do insane damage. You will have to learn to actually cast more instead of instant damage, but I'm very sure that a lot of people actually like understand that gameplay on Elemental Shaman. Enhancement Shaman is going to be insane. I think it's going to be S tier, A tier, very close to S tier. I'm very much a fan of Enhancement Shaman. The 4 set is insane. It will make you one-shot people. Stormweaver PvP talent is going to be quite cool, that you finally can do damage and be rewarded by healing, something that I always defended and wanted for Enhancement Shaman, especially in Dragonflight. They do get some like pretty harsh nerfs for it, but I think it's still going to be a good thing. I think Enhancement Shaman is going to be doing a lot of damage, a lot of healing. It's going to be a lot more smoother with heroism and bloodlust off JCD. Again, very good. And in general, the one thing that you will probably need is survivability, but now you have finally borrow a PvP talent that you can use to actually like be unattackable, go underground, be removing movement impairing effects, being fast, and also doing damage whenever you can knock someone up. And it does some quite good damage as well, so it can be surprising a lot of people. Again, very good class, very good spec. I do recommend it, and you will probably see videos of it on the channel. So be tuned, subscribe to the channel, of course. Restoration Shaman, I think, is going to be good. I have to see the 4 set because I didn't see that. When you cast Healing Rain, each ally with your Hey Riptide on them is area healed by Tide Warders. The spell power on it is actually very good, but I wonder if it's going to be enough. Each ally healed by Tide Warders is actually increasing your healing done by 1%, so it could be 3% in arenas, pretty much, and increases the healing of your next healing wave or healing surge by 10%, or your next chain heal by 2%, and that is stackable, so it's going to be a 30% increased healing on healing surge. It's going to be quite good as well. Again, nerf PvP, keep reminding on that. It's actually very important to know that. I think it's going to be a very good contender for this priest. I think it's A tier. I think it's still better than Restoration Druid, Holy Priest, and Holy Paladin. Although Restoration Druid finally has some dispel protection on their PvP talents, I do not think it's enough to actually like being healthy in mana regen. I think it's still going to be quite low, and it will be surprising a lot of people concerning the actual healing throughput. Affliction Warlock. I'm very close to putting it in D tier, man. I just am not happy with Affliction Warlock. I do not like the 4 set. It's a plain increase in damage, but it's boring. They do not really fix anything around Affliction Warlock. It is a meta where crit is a little factor, and it could be more of a Ross comp now. But I do not know. I think it's still going to be C tier. I think I'm going to put it in C tier. Sorry, guys. I think it's not good. I think having one school except nature for just soul rot is not enough. You're going to get kicked by good players, you're going to be CC'd by good players, and having 3 UAs on everyone is going to be a harsh task if they're focusing on you. If you have a friend and they focus a friend, yeah, then you're going to do some crazy DPS, but often not, Affliction Warlock is going to be the target in the arena match, and you will have to learn to kite, and it's not really the most fun part about Affliction Warlock, but it is what it is. I think for me, C tier is going to be very deserved. Demonology Warlock, they do lose a lot of things, which is pretty much like the instant dogs, instant hand of Gul'dan. I think you will have lesser damage on Tyrant as well. They still have a lot of bugs. I'm going to put it in A tier because they have a CC, and because they're not like super affected by CC with the patch notes, and crit is not really a factor because you're not going for crit on your gear. So I think because of that, it could be a winner, but it will depend on being kicked or not. So if you're kicked, you're probably going to be struggling. If you're not kicked, you can do something about it. So for me, it's going to be a tier spec. Destruction Warlock, they get a bad foreset. It's going to be very bad. I'm going to again say that it's very bad. This is boring, man. It's a demon fireball, like just one that increases 50% of the damage of the main target, right? But it's only like one bolt. If it was like a manifest of bolts and the chances are lower, it would be more fun. But right now, I mean, it's not really worth it, right? That's at least my take. It could be very worth, but for me, it is not worth it. So I'm going to straight up put it in B tier. It's going to be a lot harder to cast spells. They do remove constantly the ability to actually like multi-target and reliably as a warlock, at least a destruction warlock. I think in general you're going to feel less powerful than season 1. Does it make it like bad? I don't think so. I think they're very close to A tier. They just need like one little buff to go up to A tier. But I think it's a deserved B tier, like very high A tier. I think it's like on the verge of being A tier, B tier, on the verge of getting to A tier, and I think it's a very deserved rank. And you see that that's put like nobody at D tier because I do think this patch is going to be very, very balanced, at least from a viewer perspective. Now we will have to see if it's going to be like this whenever you're going to play live. Arms Warrior, the foreset really is bad, and I know that some people say that it is kind of worth it. It's like 2 set is 2.5% increased damage, critical strike damage, and critical strike chance. You have a nerf on crit chance, so it's going to be very minimal. It's not going to be life changing, and the foreset breaks CC, and it is very hard to actually keep up the stacks because it is critical strike chance. Critical strikes have a chance. It's not like every single critical strike chance. It's more like every critical strike has a chance. Again, it's only going to be 5% per stack. It's going to be stacking up to 3 times, so it's going to be only 15% more damage, and it can break CC. It's uncontrollable because you're going to MS all the time, and you're always going to have deep wounds, and you always have to CC the enemy targets to actually kill people. I think nobody really will and want to play the foreset. I think it's not going to be a great thing, and also you're sacrificing way too many versatility stats for the foreset. So for me, it is going to be a pretty big no. Fury Warrior though is going to be insane. But before that, let's talk about the rank. I think Arms Warrior is going to be still A tier. I still think A tier, despite the tier set. It might be even B tier, but they still have great comps. I do not know if it's going to be S tier or A tier. This is really a guess. It might be even B tier, to be honest. But it is because Fury is just much better. This tier set is insane. I made a video about it. It's very hard to actually explain everything I said in the video, But in short, your 4-stat is going to be much more powerful. You'll have a playstyle where you can do reliable big sorts of damage to execute people, and it is going to be very fun to play. And I do think with current meta that Fury Warrior is going to be S tier. And I want to rearrange a bit the tier list. I think I'm going to put PM in S tier right now. I think there needs a caster. I think Elemental Shaman is probably going to be the best caster going into Dragonflight 10.1. And in general, I think I'm very happy with the current state of the tier. Maybe like this. Maybe like this. I think this is the patch 10.1 prediction for season 2 of Dragonflight. Overall, I think Fury Warrior is going to be very surprising. The damage is going to be very good. It is not as affected on crit as you may think, because you are critting very low amounts of damage as a Fury Warrior, and you will crit regardless, so it will not change anything. And just in general, you'll have a huge impact in social. I think in trees, you're going to have a lot of fun, and I do believe Fury is going to overtake arms. That's why the division difference. But if you like the video, please do like the video. If you didn't like the video, please let me know in the comment section below. Again, also, if you like the video, please let me know in the comment section below. It helps me a ton. It is only a prediction. Again, I want to say it's tier sets. Tier sets are into account. So if you feel like the first week of Dragonflight is really not, like the first week of season 2 of Dragonflight is really not reflecting this tier, it is probably because the tier sets are not accounted into the live game, and this tier list it is. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.